Hi, it's Linda. I'm here again this week talking about toxic relationships and how do you know, first up, what they are? Secondly, how do you get out of them or rid of them once you discover that you're in one? We talked a little bit about last week about these and what is a toxic relationship. So I'm going to give you a quick review of that, and then I'm going to give you 5 pointers on how to get out of a relationship. How do you know when it's time and enough is enough? So that's what we're going to go through today. So just a quick review of last week. Here's how you know that you're in a toxic relationship. Constant put downs. You're never good enough. Whatever you do is never good enough. So it's picking at you constantly, whether it's toilet paper or whatever it is. You has to have the last word. This individual's got to have the last word, and it's always they're right. You're always wrong, no matter what. And then shirking responsibility. It's not their problem. They didn't do it. It's all about you. No matter what, you've pushed them to drink and use drugs. You've done whatever it is. It's your fault. It's your fault that they hit you because you deserve that, because you said something that pushed a button and triggered them. So it's all your fault that this is happening. And when you get to the point where you start questioning your judgment and your sanity, and you feel worthless and you feel like not going on, your whole life is disrupted, you know that this is a toxic relationship and you definitely need to start doing something about it. So now moving on to how long do you put up with those kinds of behaviors in your life before you decide to go? Now, this is really hard for Christians, I think, or people who have a very strong belief that there's till death do you part, or until you've got to forgive and forget and move forward. And I agree, divorce is never something that is easy for people, and I'm not advocating for people to run out and get a divorce. However, there are times when that marriage is literally over. It is not what God intended it to be, because this is not a relationship. And so for those of you who are Christians, you got to kind of look through the Bible, and feel free to give me a call and talk to me about it, because there are some obvious stipulations that go along with that. And one of the first things is, are you or your children in danger? Have you been threatened? Have you been harmed? Have your children been harmed? Is this individual threatened to harm you with bodily, physically harm? And this happens very often in a toxic relationship, especially if somebody is addicted to alcohol or drugs or has a mental illness. This becomes a real problem for the whole family. Secondly, are you unable to care for yourself or your family because of this controlling or abusive behavior? Now, I talk with a lot of people, men and women, who have this person is so controlling and so negative that they're paranoid. They think you're having affairs at work. They don't want you to work. They maybe go out and go on a bender and they're sick and they want you to stay home, want you to make excuses for them, maybe call them in sick to work. They shirk responsibility of taking care of the children. So that becomes a problem. The whole thing with, the being unable because you can't trust them to do what is a parent's responsibility, taking care of the children or taking care of themselves. Have you gone to counseling and you've tried everything you know how to do? I mean, it takes to make a marriage work. And I'm not suggesting that you haven't tried, but sometimes we think we have tried, and yet we really haven't taken a good close look at, are we actually contributing. Because what happens in a toxic relationship is that we get caught up into this whole thing and we become toxic. Next thing you know, you find out you're smacking them around, you're calling them names, you're drinking and using drugs and getting crazy at the same time. So your behavior is really not a whole lot different than the behavior that you hate and are ready to leave from them, because you're doing the same things. So first off, don't allow them to trigger you. Don't use their behavior as an excuse for you to become the same kind of thing. You need to get some help with that. You need to go to a counselor, get a life coach, get someone to help you. Go to a Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, or Narcotics Anonymous, or NAMI, the National Organization for Mental Illness, and get some assistance with these kinds of things so that you can get help with that. And you can do it online. There's plenty of support groups. I, again, would be more than happy to help you through some of these things. But do you have a safety plan? If this individual is threatened to do bodily harm, maybe they have abused in the past, and don't make excuses if they're only abusing you when they're drunk. Okay, if they get drunk on a regular basis, if they're high, and that's when they get this abusive, you can't guarantee that they're not going to use and come and hurt you when you're under the influence. People with mental health or substance abuse issues are 10 times more likely to kill somebody or themselves than they are when they're not under the influence. So you can't justify that, well, they're so nice when they're sober. Okay, that's great. But if they aren't committed to staying clean and sober, then you're still at risk, and so are your children. So you've got to really be prepared for that. And you've got to have a plan to get out. And the other thing is, do you have support to get through those hard days? It is not easy to make a decision to do this. And that doesn't mean you have to file for divorce on day one, but you got to get out. You got to get to a safe place. You got to get to a women's shelter, or whatever kind of shelter there is. And again, I'm not saying men are the only ones who abuse women. It goes both ways. So get to a safe place, get to someone. And if you don't know where to, I've got the number on here, thehotline.org, as simple as you can get. And it's a great website to go to get that support, to develop a safety plan before you get to go to that. And I've got a number of other women who are doing seminars and summits and conferences to help people be aware of this, and also to lend some support. So I hope this has been helpful for you to get at least a little bit. This is a very quick overview of things, but if you need some ongoing support with this, please get in touch with me at LindaLarsonSchlitz.com. I would be more than happy to offer a free consultation to help get you past this initial evaluation of, is this toxic? Do I need to get out? When do I need to get out? How do I get out? That's what I'm doing these for, is to help those who are at risk of being mentally, physically, emotionally harmed, so that they can have a good, fulfilling life doing what God's called you to do and created you to do, without the drama of having a toxic relationship to deal with, or creating one yourself. So I hope you will get in touch. God bless you. My prayers are with you all.